Our planet is covered in a spectacular variety of plant life. We see towering trees that reach for the sky and vast fields of grasses that stretch to the horizon. But hidden among these giants, there is another world, a world in miniature. This is the realm of dwarf plants. These are not simply young plants waiting to grow up. They are special versions of their larger relatives, destined to remain small throughout their entire lives. They possess a unique genetic makeup that instructs them to grow slowly and stay compact, a wonderful adaptation that allows them to flourish in places where larger plants could not survive. They are true titans, but on a tiny scale. What makes a plant a dwarf? It is a fascinating question that leads us to the very building blocks of life. The difference lies deep within their cells, in their DNA. This genetic code is like a set of instructions for the plant. In dwarf varieties, these instructions are altered. They might tell the plant to produce smaller leaves, shorter stems, or fewer branches. This is not a weakness, it is a brilliant strategy. By staying small, the plant conserves energy and resources, a crucial advantage in harsh environments. This natural process of mutation and selection has given rise to an incredible diversity of these miniature plants across the globe. This natural smallness is quite different from the ancient art of bonsai, where humans carefully prune and shape trees to keep them small. Dwarf plants achieve their petite stature all on their own, guided by their internal genetic blueprint. They are born to be small. This means that a dwarf pine tree, for example, will never grow to the dizzying heights of its forest-dwelling cousins. It will instead mature into a small, perfectly proportioned version of the full-size tree, a complete and beautiful specimen in its own right, showcasing nature's ability to create beauty in all sizes and forms. The world of dwarf plants is a testament to nature's ingenuity. It shows us that greatness is not always measured in size. These small plants have their own kind of strength and resilience. They have found their own way to thrive, to reproduce, and to contribute to their ecosystems. From the windswept mountaintops to the carefully tended garden, these tiny titans play a vital role. They remind us to look closer, to appreciate the small details, and to marvel at the sheer diversity of life that our wonderful planet holds, often in the most unexpected of places. When we observe a dwarf plant, we are seeing a perfect miniature. It is a scaled-down echo of its larger counterpart. A dwarf spruce tree, for instance, will have needles, cones, and a branching structure that are remarkably similar to a full-sized spruce. However, everything is smaller and more compact. The needles are shorter, the branches are closer together, and the overall shape is dense and tidy. This compact form is one of the most defining features. It's as if nature has taken a magnificent tree and gently compressed it, preserving all of its character and detail in a much smaller package. The differences are not just in height. The entire proportion of the plant is affected. The distance between the leaves on a stem, known as the internode, is significantly shorter in dwarf varieties. This is what gives them their dense, bushy appearance. A regular lilac bush might have long, arching stems with leaves spaced far apart. A dwarf lilac, in contrast, will have many more leaves packed into a much smaller space, creating a full, rounded shape. This makes them look incredibly lush and full of life, even when they are only a foot or two tall. Even the flowers and fruits can be smaller on dwarf plants, though this is not always the case. Sometimes, a dwarf plant will produce flowers of a surprisingly normal size, creating a spectacular display where the blooms seem almost too large for the plant itself. Imagine a small dwarf crabapple tree, no taller than a person, completely covered in full-sized, beautiful blossoms. It is a breathtaking sight. This combination of a small frame with abundant, often normal-sized flowers or fruits is one of the features that makes these plants so visually appealing to us. The growth rate is another key physical difference. A standard maple tree might grow several feet in a single year, rapidly reaching for the sun. A dwarf Japanese maple, however, might grow only a few inches. This incredibly slow pace of growth is central to its nature. It means the plant maintains its small, manageable size for many, many years. This slow, deliberate journey to maturity is what allows it to develop its intricate, often ancient-looking character. It is a living sculpture, shaped by its genetics and the slow passage of time. In the wild, dwarf plants are masters of survival in difficult places. We often find them clinging to life in extreme environments where larger plants would struggle. Think of high mountain slopes, above the line where forests can grow. Here, battered by wind and cold, dwarf willows and birches grow flat against the ground, their small size protecting them from the punishing elements. They also thrive in rocky crevices or in poor, thin soil, where nutrients are scarce. Their small root systems and low demand for resources allow them to carve out a living where others cannot. People have long been captivated by these miniature wonders and have brought them into their own spaces. One of the most popular uses for dwarf plants is in rock gardens. Here, gardeners try to recreate a miniature mountain landscape. The small size and interesting shapes of dwarf conifers, alpines, and succulents are perfect for tucking between stones. They create a sense of scale and permanence, making the small garden feel like a vast natural wilderness. They are the stars of these tiny landscapes, providing structure and year-round interest without ever overwhelming the space. Dwarf plants are also essential for container gardening. For those who live in apartments or have only a small patio or balcony, these plants are a perfect solution. A dwarf fruit tree, such as a lemon or fig, can live happily in a large pot for its entire life, providing delicious fruit right outside the kitchen door. Dwarf shrubs and flowers can be combined in pots to create miniature, movable gardens that bring life and color to even the smallest of urban spaces. Their contained size and slow growth mean they won't quickly outgrow their pots, making them a practical and beautiful choice. Beyond gardens and patios, dwarf plants have found a home indoors as well. Many houseplants are naturally small, or are dwarf varieties of larger species. A dwarf fiddle-leaf fig, for example, can provide the same tropical look as its much larger cousin, but in a size that fits comfortably in a living room. These small plants are perfect for decorating shelves, desks, and windowsills. They allow people to bring the beauty and tranquility of the natural world inside, connecting us with nature, even when we are within the walls of our homes. When comparing dwarf plants to their standard-sized relatives, the most obvious difference is in their care needs, particularly regarding space. A mighty oak tree requires a vast area for its roots and canopy to spread. A dwarf oak, on the other hand, can be a focal point in a small garden bed. This reduced need for space is a primary reason for their popularity. Gardeners can enjoy the beauty of a particular species without dedicating their entire yard to it. This allows for a greater variety of plants to be grown in a limited area, creating a richer and more diverse garden. The reduced maintenance is another significant appeal. Because they grow so slowly, dwarf plants require far less pruning than their larger, faster-growing counterparts. A standard forsythia bush might need to be cut back hard every year to keep it from becoming a tangled mess. A dwarf forsythia, however, will naturally maintain a neat, compact shape with very little intervention. This saves the gardener time and effort, making gardening a more relaxing and enjoyable experience. For people who love plants but have busy lives, this low-maintenance aspect is a tremendous benefit. People are drawn to dwarf plants for deeply personal and aesthetic reasons. There is an undeniable charm to something perfectly formed in miniature. It allows us to appreciate the intricate details of a plant's structure up close. Holding a tiny, perfect pine cone from a dwarf conifer can feel like holding a small jewel. This sense of wonder and intimacy is a powerful draw. Furthermore, they are ideal for gardeners of all ages and abilities. Their manageable size makes them easy to plant and care for, even from a wheelchair, or for those who cannot do heavy lifting, making the joy of gardening accessible to everyone. In summary, the importance of these tiny titans is far greater than their small stature might suggest. They are not merely novelties. They are versatile, resilient, and beautiful plants that fill a unique niche in both nature and our gardens. They demonstrate nature's incredible adaptability and provide practical solutions for modern living, allowing us to cultivate green spaces no matter how small. From the windswept mountain to the city balcony, dwarf plants enrich our world. They prove that to make a big impact, you don't have to be big at all.